CFL. Let them know.
Our CFL guru Wes couldn't be in there today, but he and Chaz are now going to get everything going on the start of the CFL season beginning today. Take it away, boys.
That video brought back some memories because it's been 5 years now, Wes, that I've been following your CFL stuff.
It has, and I remember when I first started talking about the CFL and giving away picks, I could have told you anything and you would have never known if it won or not. It was every time I brought up the CFL, there was some WTF to it, and I like to take credit for getting you into it. Now it's like I got a buddy who's a fan. It's great.
And again, we talked about it with the rule changes and everything, and I'm going to let all that slide because of the fact that I get to sit by the pool and watch football in the summer, and God bless Canada.
Well, should we talk about some of the rule changes for the people that care before we get into some picks?
They're staggering them, right?
There's a round of changes that's going to hit 2027, and there's a round of changes that are going to matter this year. The one that's going to hit this season starting tonight is going to be the single point. And for the listeners that are listening from the United States that have never even thought of Canadian football rules before, if the kicker kicks the ball, whether it's on a kickoff or a punt, kicks it real good out of the end zone, it's a point. If the ball is unreturnable because it goes out of the end zone, it's 1 point for the kicking team. The other way that would happen is you get essentially a 1 point field goal. You kick the ball wide left, but it's unreturnable and it becomes a 1 point field goal. So the one that is going to stand in terms of the 1 pointer is if the receiver or the return man decides not to take the ball out of the end zone, that will be 1 point for the kicking team. And, that point has helped us. It's burned us. It's made things interesting. We've seen 1-0 games in the past. And so it's just going to be a little bit harder to get that 1 pointer now.
There's only 4 games on a busy week. So whenever they do have a 1-0 score at any point in the game, you and I are usually all over that. That's funny.
Yeah. And so for 2027, this is where the Canadian football enthusiasts like myself are a little outraged because it's really changed to tradition. I mean, truly dramatic change. The field is going to go from 110 yards to 100 yards, and the end zones right now are 20 yards. They're going to go down to 15. So the NFL end zones are 10 yards. This is still going to be significantly larger. What we're going to miss out on is you got the ball on the 8-yard line, and you throw a 30-yard pass that's still good for a touchdown, that will no longer exist. And then the goalposts are going to move from the actual goal line to the back of the end zone. You're now 15 yards deep into the end zone for a field goal opportunity, where kicking the ball from the 50-yard line was truly a 50-yard kick, minus some drop back for the holder placement. So those are really significant for next year.
You're talking 15 yards of field to kick.
It's significant. The kick now is even more difficult than in the NFL. The NFL, you take about 16, 17 yards off of where they are, and that's the true distance. So the 20-yard line is really like a 36-yard kick. You add 5 yards to that. 20-yard line is more like a 40-yard kick now in the CFL next year. So that's going to add a different level of difficulty.
Many of those 1 points were because of the fact that the ball was kicked so deep, then they caught it. They just would eat it.
In Canadian football, we see all the time the voluntary safety. You take a knee, you forfeit the 2 points because you're better off than taking it out of the end zone and getting whacked on your own 10-yard line. You give up the 2 points in exchange for some field position. It's just very different than the NFL in that regard.
The ball is in play, but it's short. So on a long field goal, that extra 15 yards, they can run it out too. It's going to change the game significantly.
The 110-yard strategy with the forfeiting the safety, with the 1 pointer, with all of that, I mean, flipping the field, all of that strategy is no longer Canadian. It's going to be, south of the border type mentality. The game is still going to be 3 downs.
And they still could have 12 people on the field.
Yes, but now it's a 35-second play clock instead of a 20. So that one, in my opinion, is going to be the biggest impact, the biggest disappointment, because we've talked about it before. The last 3 minutes of a Canadian football game can be just as intense as overtime in a hockey game. 20-second play clocks, that ball changes hands a few times with 3 minutes to go.
Oh, I remember one game, Wes, my son and I were watching, and he said, well, they don't have many more opportunities. I said, Chaz, there could be 5 more possessions in this game. And there was.
Not anymore. Now, if there's a minute and 20 seconds left, the game's over.
All right, so let's talk about this week, because you made some of these comments in your new publication that you put out there, Wes, about you got to use your head. You got to tiptoe in.
It's unit management. It's with any other sport. The book is Sports Betting Disciplined, and you can get that on Amazon. The unit size going into it should be between 2 and 4% of your total bankroll. That should be all you're willing to risk. There's 3 games this week, and we'll bet them all the same. It's going to be the same dollar amount. There's no emotion. There's no liking one more than the other. There's no rolling it, wheeling it, parlaying it.
Tonight it's Montreal at Hamilton. How are you handicapping?
Early in the season, the home field doesn't matter as much because they're lighter crowds. But if we're talking specifically about tonight's game, I really like Montreal. Their defense hasn't changed very much since last year. I like Hamilton. I think that they got a great team. But I think the world of Kenny Lawler. I think he's the best receiver in the CFL. I really do like Hamilton's team. I think that they're going to be a playoff team. All I got to do is lay 1.5 on Montreal. I like the coaching. They're coming off a Grey Cup loss. I think that with a whole offseason to get ready, Davis Alexander is possibly the future of the CFL at quarterback. Him along with Rourke. I just love the Montreal roster. I love their defense. They were one of the top defenses, possibly the top defense in the league last year. They haven't missed anything in terms of key departures and personnel. Laying 1.5 at Hamilton, that feels very easy.
When I looked at this game, the thing that jumped out at me is these teams are not running teams. These teams are throwing the ball around the field. And in the CFL, there's a lot of field to throw it around. I think they're going to score some points tonight.
I agree with that. And Bo Levi Mitchell is my first CFL hero with Hamilton. We got tomorrow. Chaz, you and I have been doing this a long time, and we've learned that you're not going to make a living betting against Winnipeg. Did they rug pull us last year? Because they got off to a really bad start, and they ended up finishing the season in the crossover. They ended up coming over to the East in the playoffs. That's another cool thing. But there's been some key changes for Winnipeg. They have a defense that's getting older. I'm not going to make claims to what they're going to look like, but Vernon Adams Jr., with all of the firepower that he has at home as a dog with an entire offseason to get ready, I really like this. VA had some really great games against Winnipeg when he was with BC for those couple of years that Rourke was farting around in the NFL. I am going to take the 1.5 on Calgary. Love Mills and VA, and this is going to be a really exciting matchup to watch. Winnipeg is Winnipeg. You're not going to make a living betting against them, but tomorrow night I'm going to.
And if you're going to bet against them, you want to do it on the road. They covered in the second half in Winnipeg like 19 straight games one period. But here's 2 stats that jumped out at me. Last year for Calgary, they were second in the league. Yards per attempt, almost a first down every time they throw the ball. And then rushing, 5.5 yards an attempt. Do the math. If the sticks are 10 yards apart and you're getting 5 yards a run and 10 yards a pass, you're going to get some points too.
We're looking at Saturday's game. Ottawa was the worst team in the league last year, and they're going to stay there. They're starting there for this weekend. That might pave the way for what's coming next. Who knows what they're doing? They got a first-year coach. I don't really think that they've made any significant moves. I think that get yourself a good fish, bet against them. Just a losing loser that'll never win. I believe Ottawa is that team this year. I don't see them winning more than 5, maybe 6 games. On the other side of things, Edmonton has been that team for us in the last few years. But throughout the season last year, we watched them, and they did not look like the lovable losers that were going to elk every game. I really like Edmonton this year. I think with Cody Fajardo, and now we got Austin Mack back paired together with him. They've added Malik Carney on defense. I think that Edmonton is poised to be a playoff team this year. I think that they're going to go as far as a conference championship. I think that they will be one of the 4 teams playing for a trip to the Grey Cup this year. I really like Edmonton. I think that now that Cody's healthy and they've already named him the starter, they're not going to play around with any other backups or weird stuff. I really like Edmonton this year, and I think that it's a gift that we are going to get 2.5 points. There's not going to be that many more opportunities over the next 6 weeks to take points in the Edmonton Elks.
Or give points on Ottawa. They don't score, their defense is bad, and they're favored. I don't get it.
Doesn't make sense to me in the least bit, but...
One of my newest stats that I came up with last year was, how hard do you make it to get a point from me? And how hard is it for me to get a point? Yards per point. On defense, like a good team, when we were doing the Final Four of college, there were some of those defenses where you had to get 26 yards of offense just to get a point off of those defenses. Like the Buckeyes and stuff, they were averaging 9 points a game they were giving up. Every 12 yards you get against Ottawa, you get a point. And Ottawa doesn't score. They had a stat, and I got to be able to find it here. It was so funny that I started laughing. They have scored 0 points in the first quarter in 8 of their last 9 last year to end the season. 0 points in the CFL is hard to do in any quarter.
It is.
But we're getting 2.5, so we're going to take them. Or 3, whatever it is.
Do you want an early Grey Cup prediction? This is a strange matchup for the Grey Cup. I am calling for Calgary out of the East in a crossover to go against BC in the Grey Cup, and I think BC is going to win it. I think this is the year Rourke seals the deal. They figure out that defense.
All right,
BC
guys.
Lions.
All righty, guys. Thank you so much. Happy CFL season.
Always be cashing, guys.
Always be cashing.